Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Michael Schwahn. It's been a minute, but today we're going to talk about the Game Awards. I will be streaming the Game Awards. It's just a heads up. We normally do. We just have a good time, talk about it, mostly jab at it the entire time, because as much as I enjoy the Game Awards and do have a genuine appreciation for Geoff Keighley, the Game Awards also is one of the biggest memes of the gaming sphere because of how it is very often handled, and the last couple of years have not made that any better by any stretch of the mind. I have not looked at the nominees yet, outside of seeing the obvious Game of the Award nominees themselves be spoiled. Can you spoil nominees? Sure. But I've not looked at anything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit down. I'm not going to watch the just 10-minute quick reel of it. So we're just going to go in to the Game Awards website and we're going to check out all the categories. We're going to make our predictions. And then I'm actually going to talk about one of the big controversies around the Game Awards this year in another video because it deserves a video all on its own. But we'll see if I change my mind as we get through there. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, so looking at the Game Awards coming on December 12th, I guess we'll just go straight to the nominees. And I guess we'll just do voting. We'll just do our voting now as we're going through it. Last year we went to the end, which is what we'll do again. And work our way backwards to the Game of the Year itself. All right, so as always, the end of the categories is the ones that mean the least to me, and that I will struggle with the most. Best esports team. Recognizing a specific esports team, not the full team organization. Judge the most outstanding for performance and conduct in 2024. So Bilibili Gaming, isn't Bilibili the Japanese YouTube? Chinese YouTube? Foreign YouTube? I don't know what Gen G is. Don't know what Navi is. T1 has been around for a long time. Team Liquid has been around for a long time. We got three League of Legends teams, a Counter-Strike team, and a Dota 2 team. Team Liquid with Dota 2. I've never played Dota 2. No! Oh, God. What have I done? Hold, please. Hang on. Oh, look at this. You'd think I'd be prepared. Why'd they even let me get to the point where I could vote if I wasn't signed in? Atrocious. Look at me. Anyway. Hey, look, I'm back. All right. Okay, so we have submitted our vote. Let's go back. So what's next? Best esports athlete. Undoubtedly, it is Faker. We're not even going to read the rest because I feel like... How many years has Faker won and is going to continue to win? Just because Faker, you know? He's actually one of the few esports athletes that has actually managed to transcend being an esports athlete while still being one. Like, there are people who know who Faker is even outside of League of Legends, right? Best esports game. Counter-Strike 2, Dota, League of Legends, Mobile Legends, Bang Bang, or Valorant. I mean, I feel like... Did Counter-Strike 2 release this year? Counter-Strike 2. I have no concept of time anymore. It released in September of 2023, so I guess it could have been on last year's vote. I don't remember if it was, though. All the rest of these are very standard. Just to make League of Legends people salty, I want Mobile Legends Bang Bang to win, because that sounds hilarious. Moving towards Content Creator of the Year. I'm immediately biased towards the VTuber. You know, thankfully, at least so far, I don't have a huge issue with Queso. Not that I have found a reason to have issue with Queso. Not the same way that I have a whole bunch of the other insanely popular streamers, especially those with 20, 50, 75,000 concurrent viewers. I feel like as soon as somebody gets that large, inevitably we just find out that in some way they're a piece of garbage. Haven't seen the garbage from Queso yet. I hope that stays. I will say that I expect Queso to probably win this category because I feel like he had a huge blow up this year, but I'm going to vote for the VTuber. This is running terribly. Just that little pop-up chugging, baby. Most anticipated game. I feel like this probably wins by default, Grand Theft Auto 6. If Grand Theft Auto 6 wasn't here, I think any of these games could take it, but I feel like the number of memes and the amount of energy that exists around Grand Theft Auto 6 has just kind of given it that position. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 made $200 billion or however insane amount of money it is. So looking at these, though, if it wasn't for Grand Theft Auto 6, myself personally, I'd probably say Monster Hunter Wilds, although I didn't have as nearly as positive of experience as everyone else seemed to with the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. Didn't run very well for me no matter what I tried. I was able to get it to a like soft 50. And for context, I'm running a Ryzen 9 5900X with a 3070 Ti. It was rough. I was trying to run it at 1440p because that's my monitor and my preferred resolution, but hopefully we see some improvements to that game before it actually releases. Otherwise, Monster Hunter Wild could be there. I don't have my finger very well on the Metroid fandom, so I know that Metroid Prime 4 is very, very anticipated, but I don't know if it beats out the Monster Hunter fandom. And Death Stranding is its own enigma. Personally, I will vote for Monster Hunter, but it's probably going to end up going to Grand Theft Auto to the surprise of nobody. Best adaptation. I have watched none of these. I have watched the first season of Arcane, but not the second season of Arcane. And the rest of these I have not had any opportunity to watch up to this point. I'm going to vote for Arcane anyway, because Arcane Season 1 was incredible, and I've only heard good things about Season 2, and I hope that that trend continues. Best multiplayer. Let's see. Probably Helldivers 2, honestly. I don't know if like do fighting games count as multiplayer games? Like technically yes, right? Like they are technically multiplayer games, but it's also like a hard requirement for them. I guess Tekken 8 does have a pretty robust single player experience, and Tekken 8 is one of the better online experiences of fighting games. But I think out of these, the multiplayer experience of Helldivers 2 was something genuinely unique and special. And I don't mean the gameplay, I mean the actual multiplayer experience. The amount of memes and the amount of buzz around not the game itself, but about the culture of the multiplayer that was Helldivers 2. And I still trying to be, I think kind of gives it to them. I mean, think of the number of references to Malevelon Creek, right? Like that's huge. I feel like it should go to Helldivers 2, even if it has kind of fallen out of favor. They're trying to bring it back. They're trying. Best sports or racing game. One of the many categories that I often disagree with, because sports and racing are not the same thing, and those games play very, very differently. Man, this is what a year for sports and racing games when WWE 2K24 made it onto the Game of the Year nominations list for best sports and racing. Whew. All right, good luck WWE, because I don't care beyond anything. Best sim or strategy game. All right, something I do care about. So we have Unicorn Overlord. Oh, so of these that I have played both Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, and Unicorn Overlord. I have not played Manor Lords, Frostpunk 2, did play Frostpunk 1, and I have not played Age of Mythology Retold. Here's the thing, is that, like, I don't know what will win, because I don't feel like either of these games were genuinely good enough for me to go, it should be that. I think it might end up going to Manor Lords, because I saw a huge amount of buzz about this game when it came out. But I don't know if I have a genuine prediction at all. The problem that I also had with both of these games is that they were really good foundational designs that didn't keep me. And I really like to finish games. So if a game doesn't keep me for one reason or another, that means that there was something that not necessarily put me off, but maybe not engaged to keep going with it, right? And that's pretty unique, especially for a game that realistically should have been perfectly right up my alley. But Unicorn Overlord, at least for me, like both of these games lacked a lot of depth is the problem. They had really cool mechanics that they just never leaned hard enough into, or at least not in the 20 plus hours of each that I put in, which is unfortunate. That said, I'm going to end up voting probably for Unicorn Overlord just because I don't know enough about the other ones, but I think Manor Lords might take it. Man, look at that chugging along. Best family game is literally all of these Nintendo games. No, Astrobot's in here. It's your family game. So like, I mean, Mario Party ends friendships. It ends families, right? But it's definitely more of a family game. Are any of the rest of these even multiplayer? For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Like Super Mario Wonder last year made complete sense, right? Like you could play with the family. But I'm fairly certain Echoes of Wisdom, Princess Peach Showtime, and Astrobot are all single player experiences. I don't know about the Plucky Squire, although looking at the 3 characters on the screen, I'm going to guess that it does have multiplayer. This seems like best wholesome game, which is not the same as best family game, right? I don't know. But I've heard great things about the new Super Mario game, so you can have my vote. Best fighting game. To the judges this year that care about fighting games, that have to have this discussion amongst themselves, I'm freaking sorry. Because, well, it's not multiverses. Just put that out there right now. It's not going to be multiverses. The other 4 games on this list are all phenomenal. That was me about to say fantastic and phenomenal, and then my brain decided on phenomenal. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, really, really good, really great. Imbalance is all hell, not necessarily meant for an online competitive experience, but that's fine. Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, Arc System Works, which is just like one of the biggest pinnacles of fighting game developers at this time, didn't have the like star power, mostly because of Grand Blue Fantasy as a brand just doesn't really have that Western reach right now. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, which includes Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2 with full online play, ranked leaderboards, rollback netcode. I don't know if it gets best fighting game because it's just a collection of old fighting games, but it is one of the most important fighting game releases in the last decade. And then Tekken 8, obviously probably one of the best fighting games ever made. It's really, really good. They've done an incredible job with it. I understand that there's some controversy around some DLC and stuff like that, but let's not stress ourselves too much about that. I think it does end up going to Tekken 8. I have played all of these except for Sparking Zero because I didn't want to drop the cash on it. My vote will go to Tekken 8 because it really does just kind of set that pinnacle design for what we want to see from future fighting games, DLC controversy aside. Best RPG. Man, okay, so pause. Hold on, okay? Hold on. We're not going to talk about Elden Ring, okay? I got a whole other video that we're going to talk about the DLC being in this, okay? Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I actually want to talk about. I want to talk about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, okay? Because I saw people losing their minds about Elden Ring being in the Game of the Year nominees and certain games getting, quote, snubbed out of the Game of the Year stuff, such as Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 Reload. They're like, snubbing JRPGs again. Oh my God, never fails. The Game Awards always snubbing JRPGs for Game of the Year. One, your argument is bunk because both Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Metaphor ReFantazio are both in the Game of the Year category. So by default, your argument is invalid. But I don't feel like they snubbed Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, especially if it's here in Best RPG, right? Like, it's still in nominations for categories. Also, from what I have heard, I have not played Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth at this time. We played Yakuza Like a Dragon. We loved it a lot. We did it on Power Couple with Athena Latina. It was an incredible game, an incredible experience. But what I have heard from not a small number of people that I have talked to is that Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is not a step up from Like a Dragon. It's probably at least as good as, if not just slightly not as good. Mostly because with Kiryu showing up, if you do not have the mental like library of what happened in Yakuza 0 through 6, Kiryu's significance is lost on you, even though they try their damnedest to like make you care about Kiryu in retrospect, and it just doesn't work very well because they have 6 games worth of content to try and get you to care about a character, 7 if you include Man Who Erased His Name. And that's hard to do, and especially when we wanted it obviously does have more Ichiban, but they are dual protagonists, so they're sharing the limelight, and that's it's a difficult balance to do. Also, what I've heard is that yes, while they are optional and skippable content, Sujimon and Dondoko Island, I don't remember the name of the Animal Crossing minigame, they're both really good, but it feels like in a lot of circumstances, again, I'm just parroting what I've heard other people say, that those 2 minigames had so much work and development put into them that it feels like they could have taken away from other stuff, because they are almost entirely games on their own inside of this game, and you can ignore them, but it's hard to ignore them, and it takes away from the rest of the game with how robust those sub games and subsystems are. Now, in terms of best RPG, I do not believe it goes to Dragon Dogmas 2 whatsoever. As much as people had hopes for this game, I feel like it failed in this memery sentence. It failed to meet expectations for just about everybody. Now, with the rest of these, okay, there is this running trend with the Game Awards, which is if a game wins Game of the Year, it normally won't win whatever other category it is also in. So, like, you know, if you win Game of the Year and you're also nominated for Best RPG, you're not going to win Best RPG because you already won Game of the Year. And this isn't, I don't believe that this is like some sort of weird rigging system on the side of the Game Awards. I think that's just how people submit their votes. Like, there is a jury of over 100 different outlets that submit their lists for who should win these categories. And while there is a little bit of a public vote weight to it, they have that broad spectrum of the reviewing outlets, the gaming outlets, places like IGN, Nintendo Life, stuff like that, that get to submit the list and submit a vote, and their votes weigh more than ours do. Also, I believe there's actually like a panel of judges that also vote as well in some categories. I don't know if they've changed it up this year. I'm sure it's up there in the FAQ, but I'm not going to look at this point in time. I guess I could have made these a little bit bigger for you, couldn't I? Anyway, so, and I think that when you are submitting those votes, that what you end up doing is what I just said of, well, you know, I said that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should win Game of the Year. So if I'm giving that Game of the Year, I don't know if I should also give it Best RPG. So I'll give Metaphor ReFantazio Best RPG, or vice versa, or whatever, right? And so I would need to look at historical data, but that's how it's worked the last few years of the Game Awards, of that whatever won Game of the Year, it ends up not winning its category, which you would think if a game is a Game of the Year, it should also win its category, but that's just not how people work. So this ultimately comes down to, what do I think is Game of the Year? Because Game of the Year currently, the nominations are Astrobot Balatro, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, and something else. Something else that is unimportant enough that I've forgotten it, all right? I don't know what I think Game of the Year is. I will consider that question when we get there, because so many good games. Anyway, of these, though, Best RPG, I don't know. I don't know. In terms of what I think will win, I could see them give, like, again, we'll have a separate video about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree being in this nomination list. I could see them giving it here because, honestly, I feel like Geoff Keighley has this huge, like, bias towards From Software. Mind you, they have made his show very, very popular by having all of their big reveals at his show. I'm anticipating a From Software reveal of some sort at the Game Awards this year. But yeah, I really adored Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I haven't gotten a chance to play Metaphor ReFantazio yet, but I have heard great things. Because I personally might end up voting for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for Game of the Year, I'm going to do the logic that I just said and say that Metaphor ReFantazio is the best RPG of the year. Even though, personally, I would probably give it to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But anyway, best action-adventure game. What the fuck is this doing here? Okay. Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, or The Legend of... I guess it's an adventure game. I was like, action... Why do we have action, adventure, and action? Still don't agree that those are separate categories. Wasn't this game just like universally panned by critics and public alike? I'm amazed that it's in here. Maybe there's just so significantly not better options. I don't think Astrobot wins Game of the Year. Genuinely. I think that we have been abused for so long that a game that is just decent, that is just a good, solid platformer, feels like such a breath of fresh air that we wrongly think that Astrobot is one of the best games ever made. It's fine. But is it Game of the Year? I don't think so. I'm amazed that it got nominated when it is effectively like just a decent platformer. Now, mind you, Super Mario wins a lot of awards. Super Mario Odyssey was a huge success. But I feel like it is stand out because so many of the games that we've gotten over the last 6 years have just been steaming piles of garbage, to the point that something that is just good out of the box stands out as something special. Yeah. Which means it might end up going to Astrobot, especially because I don't think that they're giving it Game of the Year. I don't believe it'll be this. I don't think Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is going to win much. Depending on what else it's in, people are just going to overlook this to talk about the other games on the list. This absolutely not. Maybe Silent Hill 2. The Silent Hill 2 remake has done incredibly well. It has restored a lot of people's faith in Bloober Team. I don't know what else it is nominated for. That's what I would like to win, but I could see it end up going to Astrobot. All right. Where are we at now? Best action game? Okay. So here's the thing. Black Myth Wukong. That's the other game that's on the Game of the Year list, okay? I don't think Black Myth Wukong wins Game of the Year. I really don't. Call of Duty normally doesn't win hardly anything outside of, like, it'll randomly get, like, a music award. Helldivers 2, maybe. Space Marine 2 and Stellar Blade. So Stellar Blade is the game that we're playing on stream over on Twitch right now. And there were so many people that were like, Stellar Blade's going to be Game of the Year. And we're like 30 hours into it. And I'm like, there's not Game of the Year material here. It's not. I feel like too many Coomers and Gooners just got lost in the sauce over the first hour of that game. Because the game is like very, very titillating in the first 90 minutes or so. And then afterwards, it just turns into Nier Automata. And to the point that as of the day that I'm recording this video, a Nier Automata DLC just released in Stellar Blade. And it's fine. It's not bad. It's got a lot. It's a very good first showing of a studio's first big budget console release after just doing a booty jiggling mobile gacha game. So they made a booty jiggling 3D action game. But there is something to talk about here. Does it win? I think the real question is, does Stellar Blade beat Black Myth Wukong? Unfortunately, like, I feel like Space Marine 2 is just gonna get snubbed in everything. I don't even know why I feel that way. I just have this like sense of foreboding that despite being an incredibly good game, it released and everyone went, hey, that game's pretty good. And then they moved on. And so it's not going to get talked about because people didn't talk about it that much. Could Helldivers 2 get the nod here of like, hey, you guys did good? There's also the problem, though, of that Helldivers 2 has struggled to maintain its quality. And I'm not talking about player numbers. Player numbers are dumb to talk about. but they have struggled to like find their path forward after an initial amount of overwhelming success. I think it goes to Black Myth Wukong, because I don't think that Black Myth Wukong will get Game of the Year, but it does deserve, genuinely, it deserves some level of credit and attention. It does. Where are we at now? Best VR AR. It'll go to Asgard's Wrath 2, almost assuredly. It won't go to Arizona Sunshine. Metal Hellsinger is very, very cool. It won't get it. Metro Awakening, maybe. There have been a lot of really, really positive buzz about Batman Arkham Shadow, so it could end up going to Batman Arkham Shadow. But Asgard's Wrath 2 was so frequently described as this is the first, like, VR game that truly is a reason to buy a VR console. Like, whether that's the MetaQuest 3 or the Valve Index or the PSVR 2 or whatever. I mean, this is obviously on Oculus, but it was the reason, like one of the first games that people said, here's a reason to get a Quest 3. Here's a reason to get into VR. And I think that's why it'll go to Asgard's Wrath 2 more than anything else. Because I've not seen people before be like, oh, you get a VR, play a bunch of Beat Saber, it's fun, you know, but not in the way that people were talking about Asgard's Wrath 2. By no means. Best mobile game. No, it is absolutely not AFK Journey. Tried that game. This is literally anime Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not joking. That's exactly what it is. Absolutely not, under no circumstances. Balatro. Ooh. Does Balatro get the award, the I guess award for best mobile game? Even though it only released on mobile like a month ago and was a huge success on PC before that. Does Balatro not get Game of the Year and is instead given best mobile game? I feel like that would be a feel bad. I feel like that would feel so bad. Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, it's not going to be that. Not to say that this is bad by any means. I open up my packs every day. I'm enjoying Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Pokemon Pocket. It's great. I'm enjoying it a lot. I love the more simplified version of the actual PvP side of it. That said, it is not anything to genuinely write home about. If Balatro doesn't get it, it'll go to Wuthering Waves or Zenless Zone Zero. But which one? Here's the problem, right? I've played mobile games for 10 years. Yeah, we'll just say about 10 years. Since I had an iPhone 7 or maybe an LG G2. One of those. When I got one of those phones is when I started really playing a lot of mobile games. And I've played so many of them, dog. I've played every single one that has the word Final Fantasy in it. I have played Fate Grand Order. I have played, what was the one with the ships? I don't remember what the one with the ship girls was called. It's not Blue Archive. That's a different one. I can't remember. I have played Girls Frontline. I have played Arknights. I have played Genshin Impact. I have played for Honkai Star Rail. I have played Wuthering Waves. I've played Zenless Zone Zero. I just tried Ash Dawn or something. That was bad. Don't play that one. And so, like, as somebody who can tolerate the atrocious mobile game mechanics, they have gotten a little old. That said, my biggest complaint that I always had with Genshin Impact was that Genshin Impact's combat ultimately revolved around mash button, dodge, hope you have two elements that combine to kill enemy. If you don't, you might as well go home. Zenless Zone, Wuthering Waves genuinely allows a level of skill to be involved with the combat. And I'm sure I will have some Genshin people being like, well, you've never done this one dungeon that requires you to be a god. And I'm like, yep, well, you're right. I didn't, because I didn't play it for that long. Zenless Zone Zero, I think is a great game because of its presentation. Like, the quality of Zenless Zone Zero's presentation to you, from an animation, from a storytelling, from a world design, from a character design, is like peak. It is absolutely peak. The gameplay is also pretty stellar, although fairly easy to just like brain rot your way through. So here's the problem here, is we have a $10 straight purchase incredible game of Balatro, which has no gacha mechanics. It is a Joker roguelike that will devour your life in your free time because it's that good. And we have 4 gacha-based money holes, 2 of which are genuinely incredible on the level of quality that they present, being Wuthering Waves or Zenless Zone Zero. In a vacuum, I would say that Balatro is the play here. But what do I think will win? I think it'll be Zenless Zone Zero, honestly. And when we get to it, I don't know if Balatro pulls out Game of the Year either, which sucks because it's going to end up meaning that Balatro just like gets snubbed ultimately. Oh, well, you know, maybe not. I mean, we got Best Debut Indie Game, right? Which is going to come down to probably these two, Balatro or Animal Well. So Manor Lords, I think, could pick up that sim slot and not necessarily get best debut indie. Pacific Drive, unfortunately, wasn't as good as a lot of people were hoping. The Plucky Squire, I remember a lot of talk about this game, but I feel like the talk about this game was like 2 years ago. I guess it just finally got here. So that Animal Well is the first game by Big Mode, the publisher that is backed by, oh crap, what's that YouTuber's name? Video Game Donkey. Jeez, I was like, the funny guy. And I've heard great things about it. I have not played Animal Well. I have played Balatro. Balatro is really good. I think Animal Well is sitting at like a fucking 97 across the board. I personally would like to see this go to Balatro, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if it goes to Animal Well. Moving to hey, look, what did we just get done talking about? Best indie game overall. Neva, the developers who made Grease, which is a game that made me leak from my face and could not possibly stop. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I think this is a really good nod of like, congratulations, you made something really unique and really memorable, but I don't think it'll end up winning because it just isn't the game that gets the award in such a way. I think seeing both of these in these categories, I've said Balatro will get Best Debut Indie, so Animal Well will get Best Indie, or vice versa. Like, it feels so dumb to say that because one got one, the other one gets the other, but that's just how it feels like it ends up sometimes, right? Best Community Support. I'm pretty sure this category has been won by Final Fantasy XIV and No Man's Sky, just trading back and forth for the last like 8 years. I don't know if that's actually true. It's just the way that it feels. I love that No Man's Sky is voted up there again. No Man's Sky is going to be voted into this category all the way up until Hello Games' next release, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's the planet one. And then that one will be in this category, or they'll both be in this category in perpetuity until the Game Awards shuts down. Eventually, if it goes on long enough, all 5 categories will just be Hello Games games, and we will have them there for the meme of it and nothing else. Best Community Support. Overall, though, I'm not sure. Baldur's Gate 3 has had a lot of really good ongoing support. They've done a lot of stuff with that game, including a lot of really significant free updates. Final Fantasy 14 is always just absolutely rocking it. Fortnite is Fortnite. Helldivers 2, I feel like they've been genuinely trying with community support, but they've either listened too much or not enough, and they just can't, like we've already talked about, they can't find that balanced ground. And No Man's Sky, it's there. Yay. Baldur's Gate 3. Best community support, best ongoing. Categories kind of feel really similar. Why is this in here again? Everyone's angry at Destiny 2, who keeps putting it up in this nomination list. Diablo 4 is fine. That evolves the player experience over time. No, 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 yes. They've been, they were doing great with Helldivers until I think they ran out of steam. And I hope that they're able to get to that point again. So we'll say Helldivers. Games for Impact. Let's see. Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera Zao. For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. I don't think it should be Hellblade 2. I have been avoiding spoilers for Neva, but I wouldn't be upset if that game won because I'm just basing that off of how much I loved Greece. I think it'll probably come down to Life is Strange Double Exposure or Tales of Kenzera Zao. I have not heard much talk about this game, which is surprising because I am very close to some huge Life is Strange fans. So, I actually really hope it goes to Tales of Kenzera. I do. But we'll see if it's able to do so or not. Innovation and accessibility. So, I'm actually going to give this to Dragon Age the Veilguard. It doesn't have as many accessibility options as we've seen in like a first party Sony game, especially like with like what we've seen from Naughty Dog and Spider-Man and Last of Us and stuff. But one of the things that is really great about Dragon Age the Veilguard is actually just how customizable the game is for how you want to play it. Those other games have been really good for accessibility when it comes to people that have their own disabilities to overcome, whether that's with like sight or controls or whatever. One of the things that I really appreciate about Dragon Age, or hearing, one of the things I appreciate about Dragon Age the Veilguard is how accessible it makes it for how you want to enjoy the game. There is a simple yet robust ability to customize the difficulty and complexity of the game's gameplay, which means that you can get the game that you want out of it in terms of actually the experience being presented to you. And I think that that's great. Yeah. Especially also because I don't think Dragon Age got nominated for much of anything else. Best performance. Brianna White, Aerith in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Hannah Tell from Life is Strange Double Exposure. Humberly Gonzalez, main character from Star Wars Outlaw. Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2. And Melina Juergens for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. I'm very biased in that I would love to see Aerith win. I don't think Star Wars wins anything. I'm so surprised it's here in so many categories, especially because like even critically it didn't do well. And a lot of the critics are the ones who submitted the lists for these. Senua's Saga, so many people said that they just tried too hard with the second one because they went from like a restrained, respectable AA approach to being a massive AAA studio. Not to say that Melina's performance was bad, but I don't know how that actually reflects upon the game as a whole. I'm going to go with my bias and hope that Aerith wins. Best audio design. I could see Senua's Saga taking this because, I mean, that's one of the things that Ninja Theory does incredibly well. Call of Duty, please don't. Recognize the best in-game audio and sound design? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Really? I mean, the audio was really good, but it was just like, it didn't stand out in a way, right? Heard great things about Silent Hill 2. I bet, I'm thinking Silent Hill 2 might take this one. I'm gonna say Silent Hill 2. But honestly, like any of them except for Call of Duty, I would be perfectly fine with winning. Best score in music. Oh, God. So this category, mostly because, so like I kind of trash talked Stellar Blade earlier of like, it's fine, right? Soundtrack, actually really good. Metaphor ReFantazio, incredible soundtrack. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, oh God, it's so good. I don't know when it comes to Silent Hill 2. Astrobot's also very good, but Astrobot also feels like a arcade greatest hits. I don't know what the answer here is. I really don't. I have no clue. There's too many good answers. Here you go, Metaphor. I'll vote for Metaphor because fucking Atlas's soundtracks go freaking hard. Best art direction. Ooh, Elden Ring in here again. Oh man. Metaphor's in here again. 4 of the 6 Game of the Years are in here, plus Neva. You know, I don't, for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation, will not be Metaphor then. Don't get me wrong, Metaphor has a beautiful art direction, but it is not necessarily all that creative. And it definitely is not doing anything on a technical achievement level when it comes to artistic design and animation. That game, straight up, I am not memeing, fucking looks like a PS3 game sometimes. Which, I mean, it's on an engine that was used to make Persona 5 on the Persona 3, on the PlayStation 3. So, makes sense. But anyway. I could see this going to Black Myth Wukong. Genuinely. They did a really, really good job with some of the creative and technical design in Black Myth Wukong. And it's like such a good step into Chinese mythology. Yeah. Astrobot 2. Astrobot's cute as hell. Uh-oh. Did I go too far? I did. Best narrative. I will reiterate what I said earlier in regards to what you need to know to enjoy Infinite's Wealth story. Narrative development in a game. That was one of the things that this was most heavily criticized for, was how they like kind of flopped on the narrative development compared to the first game. This game is really, really good, but I do kind of worry that despite its critical success, the wokeness of the story might hold it back from getting this award. Not that I agree with that sentiment in the slightest. Guess what? Racism bad. What a concept. This is, again, me on my bias here. what they did in terms of narrative development and storytelling in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, both in terms of expanding the original storyline and in terms of some of the storylines presented within the game on its own, really, really impressive. Like, the writers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did a genuinely incredible job. I would like to see this go to Rebirth or Metaphor. I don't know which one. I'm voting on my bias, as it is. Best game direction. Make sure I actually didn't double click. Okay, I did not. Best game direction. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Balatro. It will go to Balatro. Because here's the thing. I talked about how Astrobot is just a good platformer, right? It's just a good platformer. Black Myth Wukong, it's a good Soulsian. Elden Ring, it's more of a good Soulsian. Metaphor, it's just fantasy Persona, which is good. Don't get me wrong. Probably some of the best turn-based design ever. There is actually a very, very endgame spoiler for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that I will not talk about, but is one that genuinely could give it this award. There's people that'll probably meme about like, oh, they just did the Far Cry towers and stuff. There is a technical achievement and innovation that is achieved in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that we talked about like 5 years ago, saying that it probably wouldn't be possible, and they made it possible, and it is mind-blowing. But I will say, in terms of like creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, a roguelike Joker poker game. I said Joker earlier, didn't I? A roguelike poker game. Who would have ever thought of that? Especially when poker already is a freaking roguelike, like on its own, hand to hand, right? To take that, evolve it, and innovate on top of it, and make such an incredible and addictive game. Balatro. Good work. Yeah. And then Game of the Year. Obviously, I am super duper biased. This is my Game of the Year, unquestionably. So last year I had a lot harder of a debate because like I thought it was going to be Final Fantasy 16 or maybe Resident Evil 4 remake, and then Armored Core came out, and then there was something else at the end of the year. I'm like, oh my god, all these games are so good. I love them all. And I think my Game of the Year last year, actually, despite how much I adored Final Fantasy 16, might have actually been Armored Core 6. This year, for personal competition, this is genuinely one of the greatest video games that I have ever played. Now, part of that is my own bias towards Final Fantasy as a franchise, and especially Final Fantasy VII as its own entity. But Final Fantasy VII has long been the #1 game for me ever historically, and I didn't think any game could ever beat that because of nostalgia reasons, right? Because of what Final Fantasy VII means to me on a personal level from my childhood. And amazingly, but also unsurprisingly, the game that managed to unseat Final Fantasy VII OG is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And like, I'm not surprised, but I also was surprised because I was like, you know, I'm going to really love the remake trilogy, but I probably won't unseat the OG game for me because of what the OG game means for me on a personal level. But Rebirth did it. I will talk about Elden Ring later. Honestly, though, even trying to look at it from a more objective standpoint, I still think it goes to Rebirth. I really appreciate everyone who gave Balatro the credit that it deserves, but I don't think it is actually Game of the Year. Black Myth Wukong, great art direction, solid gameplay, pretty impressive Soulsian. Does it step above Elden Ring in any way? I don't think so. And which case, if it can't beat Elden Ring base game, I don't think it can beat Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. And do I think Shadow of the Erdtree beats out Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? I don't. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, in its imperfection, is a overwhelmingly impressive video game that is near perfect. Like, as somebody who is a super fan of that franchise, there is near nothing I would change about that game. Like, it is such an incredible video game. It is made better by having played Remake and or by having a history with the franchise. But from a design objective standpoint, damn, they made an incredible game. Medieval 4 ReFantazio, I love to see it here, but it is ultimately Fantasy Persona, and I don't think that it delivers the best experience across all creative and technical fields the way that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does. In fact, that argument right there about best experience across all creative and technical fields gives it to Rebirth over any of these, significantly so. If that was base Elden Ring and if we didn't have the DLC discussion to have, I think there could be a much stronger discussion when it came to that. But I think we're past that. And I genuinely hope and I genuinely think that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, seeing this final list, could absolutely pull it out and win because of some of the things that they accomplished and achieved within that. So what's the category we didn't do? We missed one. It's probably one of the last ones because I imagine I didn't wait long enough to click on it. So let's go back through here to finalize whichever vote didn't get finished. I'm sure it's one of like the eSports categories, if not the very first one, because I clicked pretty quickly through these early ones because they're painful. Just because it's not something that I invest a whole lot of my time in. If you invest your time into esports, by all means, I hope that you are enjoying it and that it continues to grow and do well for you. But it's not something that I invest my own time in. But there we go. The Game Awards. Coming when again? December 12th? All right. See you all December 12th. So I'll also throw in a few small little predictions here at the end here of things that I think we might see at the Game Awards. Some freebies. You're going to see something for Death Stranding 2. Kojima will probably be on stage. I think that's the only freebie we genuinely have. But what are some other ones? I think that we will probably see something from... We'll probably see a trailer for... Wait, didn't they announce that the GTA 6 trailer was not going to be at the Game Awards and was going to be like the day before or some shit like that? Or like the week before? So maybe not GTA 6, or maybe it will be there a lot, like as well as their earlier trailer. But what was I going to say? The next something from From Software. Armored Core was over a year ago. Elden Ring was 2 years ago, and they are actually a pretty quick studio when it comes to turning around projects. So I think we'll see something from Software at the Game Awards. I also hope that we see something from Square Enix, bias, for their next big release. Primarily because, and I don't necessarily mean Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. I don't think that we see Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 until like 2027 at the earliest. And that'd be 3 years between Part 2 and Part 3, which is pretty fast. But Part 3 might also be like 2028. That'd be 4 years, which is how long we had between Part 1 and Part 2. But they announced Kingdom Hearts 4 like 2 years ago now. They announced Dragon Quest 12 like 3 years ago now. It is time for one of those games. It's time. Especially because you can't wait until after Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 to release one of those. One of those needs to be here. Maybe even both. Like, release one in 2020. Release Dragon Quest 12 in 2025, especially since you're just coming off the heels of Dragon Quest 3 HD Remake. And then do Kingdom Hearts 4 in 2026 and do Final Fantasy 7 Remake 3 in 2027. 3 killer years when it comes to fiscal year returns. Boom, bam, done. Ship it. Do it, Square Enix. So I think we need to see something big from Square Enix because they have these big projects and none of them are around yet. Is there anything else? We'll probably see a trailer for Venom because Venom's the next big game from Sony, right? So we're supposed to, and I think it's supposed to be out next year if the Insomniac leaks were accurate or are still accurate. So we'll probably see the next big first-party game from Sony. So that'll probably be at the Game Awards, I would imagine, because it's the biggest stage for game announcements. Nothing Nintendo will be there, I doubt, unless Nintendo decides that they want to use the Game Awards as a platform to announce the Switch 2, but I don't think that they will. I think that'll be revealed in, like, March. Since it's not been revealed yet, it's going to just wait. They're going to try to get one more big Christmas out of the Nintendo Switch. What else? What other big studios are out there? We got Bethesda. They're busy rocking Starfield. Elder Scrolls 6 is probably nowhere close. I don't know how close we can expect Mass Effect 4 to be, especially coming off the heels of Dragon Age the Veilguard. They said that they're not going to do DLC for Dragon Age, so maybe we'll see a new teaser trailer for Mass Effect 4. That'd be very cool. Is it too soon to see a teaser trailer for the third entry in the Jedi Survivor games? Maybe. I would personally love to see a release date trailer for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, because that's supposed to be coming out next year, and it feels like we're creeping up on the time for when we should know it's out. Is there anything else? It's immediately leaping out to me. I mean, there's plenty of things that I would love to see. Of course, you know, a Bloodborne remaster, Xenosaga HD Trilogy remaster, Skies of Arcadia remaster and port, or even a remake of that one. There's plenty I'd like to see, but in terms of things that we will actually see, it's a little bit of a harder conversation, a little bit of a bigger question. Anything else? Anything I'm forgetting? Probably. I feel like there was something else in 20. Oh, Mecha Break. Not that this is like a big game by a big studio or anything, but I'm salivating over the idea of getting to play more Mecha Break, and I need to play more Mecha Break soon, and it's supposed to be out next year, and we don't have a release date or a date for another demo or beta or anything, and I'm losing my mind. So please, for the love of God and everything holy, give me my awesome freaking mech arena battler. Mecha Break. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. So with that said, everybody, those are the Game Awards nominees, my thoughts on them, and my predictions for who might win, who should win, and how things are probably going to shake out. I would love to hear your thoughts, obviously, and if you haven't already been typing them in the responses, please let me know what you think I'm right on, what do you think I'm wrong on. I know that there is a decent number of those games that I outright admitted that I had not played and made opinions on that is based off of strictly what I have heard from other places and in other ways. So please feel free to be like, well, what you heard was wrong. I would love to have that discussion with you, and I'm looking forward to it. Otherwise, though, while we don't have any type of set schedule right now, we are streaming on Twitch, trying to finish up Stellar Blade. After Stellar Blade, I want to play either Fantasian, Neo Dimension, or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, one of the two. There was also something else that was coming out soon or came out recently that I would really like to put some time into. But life has been really crazy, so trying to get a consistent streaming schedule has been just literally impossible. But I will be here on December 12th, presuming that nothing gets in the way of it, to watch the Game Awards live and to have that chatty chat and that conversation. And I look forward to seeing you all there. Please check out the description. There's links to a whole bunch of stuff. Even though I'm not making a lot of videos or streaming a whole lot, I am still very active on social media. So please feel free to keep up with me there. We can chat about whatever you like. Yeah, so go check those out. And you know, the standard YouTube crap. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to catch future videos, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do watch one of the other videos on the channel, or if I see you in the live stream, thank you and enjoy.